The year is 2012, a year that introduced a plethora of legendary video games into the hands of millions of gamers across the world. We had incredible legendary games such as Far Cry 3, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Telltale's The Walking Dead, but to me, there is only one game that stands out over the rest: the original Forza Horizon. Other racing games that released in 2012 don't even compare. You had games like Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, which were fun, but they never really introduced anything new to the genre. Forza Horizon was a breath of fresh air. Compared to previous entries in the Forza series, which were exclusively circuit racers, built racing on only racetracks, and no open world, here comes Forza Horizon, a true competitor to racing games of the past, with a fully fledged, amazingly crafted open world. Horizon was one of the greatest open world racers of all time, with an intoxicating level of soul, and it was a true passion project from the developers Playground Games and Turn 10. This video is going to be a very long, very in-depth look at what makes the original Forza Horizon so unbelievably special and unique. Now, for your viewing experience, I have divided this video into multiple sections, and I will be leaving timestamps in YouTube's chapters feature, which you'll be seeing on the timestamp on your screen, but I will also leave them in the description below. This will make it much easier if you want to come back and revisit one of my points, or just if you wanted to skip ahead to a certain section. Now sit back and relax, as I'm going to bring you this documentary on how Forza Horizon changed the racing game community forever. Let's start off with one of the most impressive and breathtaking parts about Forza Horizon: the atmosphere and the setting. Forza Horizon takes place in the beautiful state of Colorado, USA, in the midst of a part EDM festival, part automotive heaven and car extravaganza called the Horizon Festival. The Horizon Festival is centered around one central hub, but also branches out into multiple separate outposts around the map. But don't worry, I'll get to those in a second. But for now, let's focus on Horizon's central hub. The main hub of the Horizon Festival is host to 6 little mini hubs in it, where you can access many of the game's important features. First of which would be the auto show. The auto show is where you buy and sell or trade in vehicles. The auto show is host to so many unique cars, and I will be getting into the car list later in the video, but for now all you need to know is that Horizon's auto show will give you the best of cars from the 90s, the early 2000s, and the early 2010s. After the auto show, you have Race Central. Race Central is where you get access to leaderboards, rivals, and other competitive statistics, and is a really great way to access where you stack up against your friends and other players across the world. You then have car clubs. Now, car clubs is something that was very popular when the game first came out. It is not really a big deal now, considering the multiplayer online servers are not as large as they ever were. But car clubs allow you to create online clubs where you could invite and host clubs for whatever and whoever you wanted. If you wanted to have a Subaru car club where you and your friends that you really have a passion for Subarus, or you guys, let's say, are into muscle cars or, European cars, you could create a specific car club for your make of car, your brand of car, anything you wanted. Even if you just wanted to create a car club for just your friend group, you could do that, and it was a really great way to connect with your friends. Next up would be Marketplace. Now, Marketplace is unfortunately unavailable now because all of the DLCs for Forza Horizon have unfortunately been removed, and they are no longer unable to be purchased unless you already owned them before they were removed from the store. But in the game's heyday, Marketplace was where you would go if you needed to get a DLC car or a DLC pack. Marketplace was the spot. Next would be the paint shop. Now, the paint shop would of course allow you to paint your entire car, but paint shop was also the spot where you could paint individual components. You could paint your wheels, you could just paint your hood or your spoiler, you could, tint your windows. This was of course a great way to personalize your vehicle, but was made even better by the inclusion of the vinyl editor and the decals. The vinyl editor in Forza Horizon, and of course the Forza Motorsport games as well, was the spot for some of the most talented members of the community to create either replicas of real-life cars or create entirely new designs. And if you remember, when every Horizon game or Motorsport game first comes out, you have artists all over the world clamoring to just show off their talents. And the community effort in some of these liveries and designs is absolutely breathtaking. And some of these people are truly talented. Last up in terms of the mini hubs would be Dax Garage. This is where you would be spending most of your time when you're at the Horizon Hub. Whether you wanted to custom upgrade your vehicle with different aerodynamics, different wheels and tires, lower suspension, or even, do subtle engine improvements to build up your PI, or even if you wanted to go absolutely crazy and swap out your engine for an engine from a different vehicle, this is where you would do it. And don't worry, I'll get more into tuning and cars later in the video. Dax Garage would also allow you to access your barn finds, which is one of the Horizon game's most unique features that is a fantastic addition to the games. Again, I will go more in depth in bar finds when I get to the cars section. Next up, this is going to be a very long section dedicated to what makes Horizon's version of Colorado so special and unique. Forza Horizon's version of Colorado is one of the most true to real life, but yet at the same time, beautiful settings I have ever seen in a racing game. Horizon's map stood out so much to me, in fact, that whenever I hear someone mention Colorado, I immediately think of Forza Horizon's version of the map. Let's start out by mentioning my personal favorite spot of Horizon Colorado, Finley Dam. Whether you're looking at the massive bridge, which is both phenomenal to look at from up top when you're ripping it over the bridge at 200 miles an hour, or you're drifting the long, curved road on top of the dam. The bridge at Finley Dam is one of the most breathtaking sights in Horizon 1's map. Once you're done drifting the curved road on top of the dam, you can take a little detour and blast through the curved roads by the power station next to the dam, and you can see all of the back roads by this section are truly phenomenal and are fantastic to drive on. After Finley Dam, we have Clear Springs, which has some of the best looking freeway sections in the game. You have absolutely jaw-dropping views of the Colorado mountain ranges, which are made even better when you are ripping down the freeway at 250 miles an hour, and all you can see is those mountains in the background and a blurred vision of your speedometer. And this doesn't even mention the little dirt rally routes that can be found on the outskirts and little sections which are so well crafted for proper rally racing. Next up would be the Kettle Hills region, which is host to one of Colorado's most beautiful and scenic towns, Eagle Ridge. Eagle Ridge is host to one of the most unique spots in Horizon Colorado, the hot springs. Now, if you are very lucky, if you drive past the hot springs at a certain time, you will see one of the geysers will shoot out a massive jet of water and hot steam hundreds of feet into the air. It really is a true spectacle, especially when you're racing through the town and you can just see that in the background. It truly is a really special spot. The rest of Eagle Ridge is full of a very wealthy neighborhood, packed with massive homes for the upper class of Colorado. The rest of the Kettle Hills region is connected by long, sprawling backroads decorated by the autumn trees. One of these backroads leads to Redfoot Ranch, a large open section of mostly farmland, but is also home to a barn find, which happens to be one of the easiest barn finds to find in the game, because there's not really much going on there. After Kettle Hills, let's showcase the fan favorite spot of the map, Red Rock. Now, Red Rock has to be one of the most diverse and extensive locations in the entire game. At the top of Red Rock, you have the observatory section, which at the top of the mountain has plenty of rally routes and little curvy street racing roads, and it is a fantastic spot for racing. I know that I remember spending, tons of time. There's a few races at the top of the map where they are really tight, really technical rally stages, and it truly is an off-road racer's paradise, with jumps, tricky inclines, and tight switchbacks, which is even great for the standard on-road street racing. The observatory section is excellent, but of course, that's not the most favorite section of Red Rock. Red Rock is famous for the truly epic mountain climb or descent, which has some of the best stretches of tarmac that have ever been put into a racing game. Whether you enjoy drifting your favorite dream car through tight, twisty switchbacks while having one of the best views in the game, especially at nighttime, when you see all of the little canyons and rocks, obviously the red rocks, or you enjoy a hill climb aspect, where you like taking, one of your favorite cars and trying to climb the mountain as fast as possible, you will appreciate Red Rock's incredible versatility and beauty. Now, once you get off Red Rock, you can hop onto the highway in the Montana plains and enjoy the sensation of going 200 plus miles an hour through a long, sweeping highway in the middle of the desert. During the game's heyday, this highway was populated with drag racing and, high-speed, top-speed sections. I know if you take it towards the southeast of the map is where you would do a lot of your top speed runs in-game. The Montana Plains Highway leads you to Carson, and this is one of the more main cities of Colorado. Carson is a very simple town, but this is actually an advantage when you think about it. While the newer Forza Horizon games focus on their cities being absolutely massive and packed with buildings and houses, Carson does the opposite. It's understated, but yet full of detail. It doesn't try and be the biggest city out there and have the tallest buildings out there. What it does is it captures the feeling of a small suburban town perfectly. When you're driving through Carson, it feels realistic and no street corner feels the same as the last, which leads into the believability that Carson could be a real place. Now, of course, there is also that park in the south of the city, which has showcased plenty of street races and showcase events where you would be driving your tiny little hatchbacks through the tight sections of the park. Carson is home to fantastic little street racing. Gladstone is up next, and if you are a fan of mountain passes and rally stages with epic elevation changes, Gladstone's for you. Gladstone is also home to a lot of high-speed sections as well. If you enjoy ripping your favorite supercars through mountains and really nice, twisty roads, Gladstone really is for you. Now, all the way at the north of the map, you have Beaumont, which is another town, but instead of a more suburban setting of Carson, this one has a lot more of an upper-class feel to it. You have a lot of wealthy neighborhoods, a lot of, expensive buildings, big apartment complexes, and the such. Beaumont is also full of really tight alleyways and really tricky street sections, which is great because Beaumont is also host to plenty of the game's racing events, and the racing events in Beaumont can get quite tricky, so you really gotta know the streets if you're gonna take part in them. Beaumont also happens to be host to the final race of the game, which I'm gonna talk more about later, but being the spot where that race starts will always be special. Now, Bunker is an abandoned mining town, which is just to the east of Gladstone. Bunker has a very strange vibe to it, and it's almost eerie because the whole place feels abandoned. There's a bunch of dilapidated buildings around, and everything seems to be breaking down. But at on the other side of that, it's a very open section of the map, which is great for your off-road and gameplay elements. There are a few of those events there too. Now, of course, I'm not going to go into every single inch of the map in this video, because that would take way too long. But there are countless other sections of the map that are fantastic as well. Up by the Rocky Mountains, you have the hills with tunnels that have plenty of speed zones in them. I remember going and trying to PB my absolute highest speed possible in those sections, and they were fantastic. The Horizon Colorado map has to be one of the best, if not the best, Forza Horizon map that has ever been created. But Horizon Colorado is not without its flaws. The newer Forza Horizon games feel much more open, with less unbreakable walls and invisible walls, and an overall more vast landscape. While Horizon 1, either due to creative design or console limitations, can't exactly do that. The game does feel very sectioned to on-road gameplay, with a more focus on street racing instead of, Baja trucks blasting through, the Colorado plains and all of that. Horizon Colorado takes a different approach, and it's designed for street cars with the occasional rally racing, which is why of course they had the rally expansion. But compared to even Forza Horizon 2, which is one of the less open Horizon games, Horizon 1 really is not that open. Which of course there are some sections, like I mentioned earlier, that are open, but you can't exactly, let's say, go off-roading from Beaumont to Gladstone. You can't do that. The map is very sectioned off, which does actually add to the realism of the Colorado area. There's a lot of mountains there, and you can't exactly just go driving over the mountains in your Lamborghini Huracans, can you? Now, after talking about the incredible map of Horizon Colorado, the next thing that I need to bring up in regards to Forza Horizon would be the story and the sense of progression. Forza Horizon has one of the most perfect examples of progression in a racing game that I have witnessed so far. For me personally, games like the newer Forza Horizon games, Horizon 3, Horizon 4, tend to accelerate your progress too much. For me, you earn things too quickly, and you aren't given the chance to really earn high-end cars. On the other hand, it can be said that games like Test Drive Unlimited 2, while I personally enjoyed the progression in those games, they're quite aggressive in terms of you really have to put the constant hours in order to get what you want in those games. And while that is really, really satisfying to some people, including myself, it is totally understandable why some people don't like that model. And for me, the perfect game that strikes the perfect balance of not too hard, not too easy in terms of progression would be this game. Forza Horizon has the perfect sense of progression, and let me explain you why by taking through the story of the game. Let's start off with the very beginning. Horizon 1 starts you off by teasing you with what's to come if you work hard enough, by starting you off in a Dodge Viper. You get to really experience what it's like to drive one of the more powerful cars in the game, and you get a taster of, okay, here's how the physics work with a high-end car, and the power of this thing is amazing, it sounds great, it's really quick. But then you get put into your Volkswagen Corrado, which immediately sets you right back to ground level. So you know that that's to come later in the game, and trust me, it gets there. But you have to put in the hours, you gotta work for it. It's not given to you, and that's something that is taken so differently in a lot of modern games. You really don't have to work for a lot in a lot of modern games. But I'm getting on a tangent here, I'm gonna get back to it right now. Now, once you're in your Corrado, you have to earn your way into the Horizon Heats by, you race against a couple cars to get to the festival. No big deal, it's a scripted event. You're gonna make it in no matter what. But once you get there, you get this intro cutscene that shows you meeting Alice and some of the other crew of the Horizon Festival. Alice gives you the access pass in order to access the Horizon Heats, which is a qualifier event to see if you actually make it into the Horizon Festival. After you talk to Alice, you end up talking to Dak. Now, Dak is the mechanic of the Horizon Festival. He inspects your vehicle and, checks you in. You get to talk to Dak a little bit, kind of learn how he thinks. And Dak is he's a very likable character in game. A lot of the characters in this game are quite cheesy and brash, but they're done on purpose to be that way. But Dak is he's designated as a wiser, very knowledgeable person. Now, after you win your first race in the Horizon Heats, you get congratulated by Alice, and she invites you to participate in your first showcase event. The showcase events have to be one of my favorite side events that you can do in the original Forza Horizon game. Every single one of these showcase events feels truly unique, and the best part about them is they reward you very handsomely for your work. If you win a showcase, you get to keep the car that you used to participate in the event. So for example, the first showcase was the Ford Mustang, and you get to keep that Mustang, which is really amazing. And that Mustang has become one of the most iconic cars. Anyone recognizes that bright yellow Mustang. Now, after you finish your first showcase, you head back to Race Central to pick up your first wristband from Alice. Once you're at Race Central, you also get a cutscene that not only introduces you to the wristband system, but you also get to see how some of the characters in Horizon are going to act. And so that you can see how they act, I'm going to let this cutscene play out for you.
One more thing. This isn't a ticket for your TV antics. I think for one moment you're creating incidents for your show. I'll pull you from the championship quicker than you can say series cancel.
For you, Alice, anything.
For real. This is a one strike and you're out deal.
Okay, I get it. No dangerous ass clown behavior. I swear.
Oh, hi. You're the new guy. Here. Nice driving. You bagged the last slot. That wristband means you made the championship. There are 249 other drivers competing this year, and believe me, every one of them is more famous around here than you.
Crashed that one. It was awesome.
Darius, hold on a minute, will you? If you want to make a name for yourself at Horizon, it's all about how you drive. The crowds come to see spectacular racing, and I can always use a driver who has the crowd on his side. Darius, what's wrong now?
Now, as you clearly just saw, the characters in this game are terribly cheesy, but as I mentioned earlier, this is all done on purpose. And there's something that must be said, that about before Drivatars entered into the Forza series, there were real voice-acted characters for the other vehicles around you. And while of course this is no big deal, and it's really not a huge thing, it is. Personally, I find it interesting. And one of the best things about having these voice characters is that you had more of a connection to them. So you'd say, hey, I really want to beat Duke because he's been trash talking me the first few races and I need to beat this guy. And this is a big difference from Drivatars, where you would get some generic Xbox gamer tag and it just doesn't feel the same. But again, you know, it's all up to personal preference. I just really prefer having a named antagonist. Speaking of characters, if you race a couple more and you get your next wristband, you get access to your first Star Showdown. Your first Star Showdown will be against Ramona, and Ramona has this insane Ford Raptor that you're really gonna want. The Star Showdowns are by far one of my favorite parts of this game, and something that I just don't understand why they're not in the newer games. They really were quite unique, and they were very fun to play through. You had this little intro cutscene that made them seem like underground street racing events, and then it would just be a head-on-head race between you and then the star that you're showing down against. And if you win, you not only get the satisfaction of beating Duke or Ramona or Holly or anyone who's been trash talking you at the start of these races, but you get to keep their car as a trophy. So these Star Showdowns really do give you that satisfaction. And they're so much fun. Once you defeat all the Star Showdowns, you feel like the real Horizon champion. Now quickly I wanted to mention, Forza Horizon 3 had something kind of similar to this. It had these little mini ones. They weren't quite the same thing as a Star Showdown, but I really do appreciate that they were in Horizon 3. Compared to Horizon 2 and then Horizon 4, which has nothing like it, Horizon 3 really did have that, and it was nice. Again, you got to win the car and keep the car afterwards. And those cars had special modifications on them in Horizon 3, like the wide bodies or the muscle cars with the blowers sticking out of the hood. That was one of my favorite things about Horizon 3, was that it kind of brought the Star Showdowns back, but in a less developed way than before. Now, after you beat Ramona, it's going to be a few more races until you're invited to your first street race. Now, the street races also have a really interesting feel to them, and to showcase the vibe and the feeling that the street races give you, I'm going to let the intro cutscene play out for you.
Come on now, you sitting on my hood and you ain't gonna go for a ride? I knew you couldn't resist, yo. This is the scene. The lifeblood behind the circus. Adrenaline junkies getting their fix. they know the real high is when you put it all on the line. Now you been yapping in my heels, bro, over the championships, and I respect that. I do. But what we got right here, it's a different kind of experience. Pink slip. Hey, all or nothing. You ain't never felt a rush like that. Come hang with us whenever you feel the need, yo. That's what you saying, baby. You gonna roll away.
As you can see, this cutscene really sets the mood for these street races and gives you that old, almost like Need for Speed, undergroundy kind of feel to them. They don't have the ridiculous car mods and all that the Need for Speed games had, but they had that same energy of a Need for Speed, Fast and Furious, that really underground. You feel like the normal Horizon races are more official, they're regulated. This feels more raw. And to add on to that, the street races had a higher difficulty than normal races. But while they also had a higher difficulty, they had a much higher reward to them. So if you were really good at these street races, you did them on the side, you could earn yourself tons of cash. Shortly after you unlock your first street races, you will unlock your first barn find. Barn finds were a truly unique feature in Forza Horizon that you had to spend time searching for these little collectible cars that would be sprinkled around the map. And once you found them, you would have to wait a little bit for Dak to fix it up for you, but once he did, you would have access to a car that was not purchasable on the auto show. And some of these barn finds, you would have to really wait until the end of the game. And even after the final race of the game, you would truly have to wait until you would be able to collect all barn finds in this game. Now, this might just be a personal thing, but I feel like the barn finds have become less of a deal in some of the more recent Horizon games. They were still a pretty big deal in Horizon 2 and were appreciated there. They were in Horizon 3, but Horizon 4, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but they didn't really feel like that big of a deal in the game to me. But hey, at least they're there. Now, once you unlock your first barn find, the game really starts to open up and allows you to really play however you want to. If you would prefer to just explore Colorado, cruise around the map, and do little side activities and speed zones and speed traps while you just explore the map, you have full right to do so. Or if you're like me and all you want to do is rush through this story as fast as possible so you can have all the money you want and spend it on all your dream cars, it's all up to you. Now, slightly throughout the progression segment of the video, I've mentioned wristbands. Wristbands are an important aspect in Forza Horizon. Wristbands will allow you to access certain classes of events. All of these wristbands lead up to the final top tier, the gold wristband. The gold wristband is key to unlocking the Horizon finale. Now again, I'm going to bring in a little something that I personally have noticed from Horizon games. I'm not claiming that this is true, but it's just what I've personally noticed. To me, it seems like wristbands in the more recent games have become not a big deal at all. Take Forza Horizon 4, for example. Your wristband is directly tied to your XP level. I believe once you hit level 150 or level 200 in Horizon 4, that's when you unlock your gold wristband. While in Horizon 1, wristband is directly tied to gameplay progression. Now again, this is all up to personal preference, but to me, I really do like Horizon 1's example better. It shows you exactly how far you have gone through the game, not how high of an XP level you are, because we all know you can exploit XP. You can get crazy XP in Horizon 4 just by doing certain things, which, again, Horizon 4 is a sandbox, right? We all know this. They kind of want you to play however you want and be able to unlock things however you want. But again, personally, not my style. I really do like Horizon 1's motive of start at this wristband, then you unlock this one, then this one, then this one. And it's directly tied to the amount of races you've done. But anyways, I'm rambling on a little too much. Let's get back to the main point. Once you get into the higher tiers of wristbands, you start to earn big money. Now this is really satisfying because once you've put in 5-10 hours into the game, you can finally start thinking about, hey, alright, I've built up this big bank account now. I have, you know, hundreds of thousands, maybe even a million if you don't spend a lot of it. And you go to the auto show and you can finally be able to purchase that car that you've been looking at since the beginning of the game and thinking, man, if I get the money for this car, I'm going to be so happy. Now, maybe this is just me, but whenever I get a new racing game for the first time, the first thing I do when I have the chance is I go to wherever you purchase cars and I try and find my dream cars. And what I do is I'll set a goal, say I want this one, I really want this one, and then, you know, this one I'll get, you know, when I have enough money and after I have the other ones. And the whole game, you're chasing those cars because you know that once you're done the game, you have all this money, you can finally afford your dream cars. Again, this is very different compared to Horizon 4's model of, oh, you can have your dream cars within the first few hours if you want. In fact, we'll give you a McLaren Senna within an hour if you want. Again, if you like that model, that's totally fine, you know, good on you. But I cannot stand it. I play racing games to play racing games, not to have them give me things. Now, once you're at that gold wristband tier, you have the opportunity to unlock the Horizon finale. The Horizon finale is called the Champions of Champions, which is the final traditional race of the game. A $5 million prize is on offer. This is a huge reward for finishing the game. And this is the perfect example of you finish the game, you get big rewards at the end of it. So once you're done the Champion of Champions, not only do you become the champion of the Horizon Festival, but you get that satisfaction of, okay, I got an extra $5 million and you're finished the game. But hold on, you're not quite done yet. Once you finish Champion of Champions, Darius is furious that you stole the Horizon Champion title from him, and he challenges you to the final star showdown of the game. You then immediately transition to the final event of the game, the Star Showdown against Darius Flint. This final showdown is a very long race, and it goes all across the Colorado map. And let me tell you, if you're playing it on some of the higher difficulties, this race is not easy. And if you win the race, you not only get the satisfaction of beating Darius, who has been the total antagonist of the entire game so far, but you get to win his prized possession, his Ferrari 599XX. Now that's it. You have beat the main storyline of Forza Horizon, but there is still tons of side activities and showcases and barn finds left for you to unlock. So you're not 100% done with the game, but you have finished the main storyline. That is how you do progression in a game. Start off with nothing, slowly earn your way up to higher tier levels where you eventually start to unlock more money, more cars, higher end cars, and then at the final event of the game, get a big reward for finishing the game. And that big reward allows you to feel like you have actually accomplished something. There's nothing more satisfying than having that big, huge, you know, when I finished Horizon, you know, playing it with all the assists off and all that, I had, I think, 10 million once you're done the game. 10 million in Horizon 1 was not easy to get to unless you actually finished the final race. And that satisfaction of going, I beat the game, I've done all the events, I have all this money, I'm going to blow it on all of these cars, and I'm going to live like a millionaire. It actually means something to feel like a millionaire once you've put in those hours. I'm going to compare this again to Horizon 4, where you can become a millionaire within the first hour of the game, within the first 2 hours of the game. If you get lucky enough with super wheel spins and wheel spins, you will just get money and cars just thrown at you. 10 million in Horizon 4 is broke. If you only have 10 million in your Horizon 4 account, that's basically nothing. This is due to the inflation of money in the Forza games over time. Think about it, $1 million in Horizon 1 is worth so much more than $1 million in Horizon 4. Now, of course, this is also due to the ever-expanding car lists and car count in Horizon 4, where, of course, you're going to have to earn some more money and able to be able to buy these cars. But still, within the first hour or two of the game, to have 1 million, I don't know. Personally, I find it ridiculous. But if you enjoy that, hey, good on you, man. No judgments here. If you like it, you like it. Now, next up, we have to talk about one of the most important aspects of any racing game, and that would obviously be the cars. The cars in the original Forza Horizon were some of the absolute best, most well-crafted, well-thought-out vehicles that I have seen in an arcade racer to date. Let's start by talking about the car list itself. I'm going to be getting into some of the more unique vehicles and special cars that we haven't seen again in the Forza series a little later on in this segment, but now I'm going to cover the general car list. Horizon's list has the vast majority of cars that everyone would be into. You have everything from your Japanese cars, you have your European sports cars and luxury vehicles, old school and new school muscle cars, and you have the absolute best from the 90s, supercars, hypercars, all the way up to the modern era. But if you have a more, let's say, unique taste, Horizon has you covered as well. Now, let's move on to some of the more unique cars that were in Horizon's list. Let's start off with Ascari. The Ascari KZ1R is a British supercar from a very niche manufacturer. This is an absolutely beautiful car, and I haven't seen it again in the newer Horizon games. The Audi R8 GT is another one. This is an absolute perfection when it comes to the first generation of Audi R8, and is a fantastic vehicle in game. The Eagle Speedster, one of the most beautiful vehicles ever made. I cannot tell you how much time I've spent driving this car and just looking at it. The Honda NSX-R GT. This thing is absolutely beautiful, but at the same time, the sound, the feeling, the handling, everything about it is incredible. Cars like the Mazda RX-8 Mazda Speed, we haven't seen these again. And then of course you have your very special supercars like the SSC Ultimate Aero. Now that you've had a chance to see some of the cars that make the car list so special, let's take a look at how these cars sound. Now that you've heard what some of these cars sound like, let's talk about how they actually drive. Since Forza was obviously part of the motorsport series before this, the developers had a lot of experience with how to make a car go around a corner, and in Horizon, they take a slightly different approach than motorsport. Horizon's handling is a little more loosey-goosey, it's a little more back-end friendly, so you can get the back end of the car out easier and drift. But you know, the Horizon games, they started out like that way, and they're still that way. So there is something to be said about the handling in this game and how well it translates into the modern games, that it was really quite ahead of its time. And if you think about other games from this same time period, racing games, your Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, they're just not the same. They're great in their own regards, but in my personal opinion, Horizon gets that balance right between that arcadiness, but also having a slight sense of realism to the cars and how they behave. It's no sim racer, of course, but it's a hell of a lot better than a lot of the other games of this time period. Now, we've brought up the map of Forza Horizon, the story and progression in the game, the cars, and some of the other things that make this game so unique and special. But there are still a few more miscellaneous things that I have to bring up. First thing, one of the first things that you notice when you go back and play the game is the much more evocative sense of speed in the game. When you are driving your favorite car at over 200 miles an hour, you feel like you're going insanely fast. This has been something that to me has been lost in some of the more recent games, whether it's due to the camera effects and motion blur and how much the camera moves in Horizon. It just feels so much more raw and intense than in the newer games, which kind of have a dulled sense of speed. After that, I have to bring up the audio design and music in this game. Now sure, the audio is not up to 2021 standards for most games, and I totally accept that. The design itself is fantastic and top tier for the time period. When it comes to background noise, your ambient trees and birds and other animals that are around the game, the ambient music itself and all of that background noise is very well crafted. And even when you're just sitting in a festival hub or a mini outpost, you hear all these little noises in the background. And the design itself is fantastic. The music in Forza Horizon is second to none. I cannot stress how good the music selection is for this game. And it truly bothers me that I cannot play some of this music for you guys. But trust me, if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. Due to copyright laws, I cannot play it for you. But man, the music in this game, absolutely fantastic. You have some of the absolute best from the early 2000s. You have EDM, you have hip hop, you have punk rock. You name it, this soundtrack has it. This soundtrack selection is one of the best in a racing game. Now, let's just go over everything one more time, and I'm going to be quick about this. The map itself, one of the most diverse, beautiful, and breathtaking locations that have ever been in an open world racing game. The story and progression, while fun and entertaining, it is also incredibly rewarding and satisfying to complete. The cars themselves, lots of attention to detail, very unique list, and engine sounds that were second to none at the time. Now, before I wrap up this video, I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of people who are never played this game and are wondering, how do I play this game in 2021? Because a lot of people go to the Xbox store and they look up Forza Horizon and you see unavailable. But I have good news for you. You can still play the game if you have never owned it before. What you have to do is you need to have a physical copy of the game. So if you have an Xbox console without a disc drive, you have to have owned this game before in order to play it. You cannot use a disc on your non-physical console, obviously. So if you have an Xbox, whether it's an Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, with a disc drive, it does not matter, you can play Forza Horizon. And if you don't own a disc already, I recommend either, look on Craigslist or something to see if someone will finally have it for cheap. But I personally got mine off of Amazon. It was about $30. Best $30 I've ever spent. This game has more than enough value in it for the price. If there are people charging, $60 for the game, that is a lot of money, and it's really up to you whether you decide to spend that much money on the game. But if you can find it for $40 or less, just buy it. Especially if you haven't played the game before, just buy it. You will be so happy with your purchase once you get the game. Well, that was a lot of work. This video was at least 20 to 25 hours of work. Definitely the largest project that I've taken on to date. And I don't regret it in the slightest. Not one bit. This, while yeah, a lot of work, was incredibly fun. One of the most fun I've had making videos, and to go back and really appreciate these older games is something I find that's very important. While of course, we need to focus on the new stuff as well, newer games are always great, you need to go back and appreciate what we had in the past. That's why I'm making this video, to showcase to those who either haven't played this game in a long time, or haven't played it ever, or even just longtime fans of the game and the series. I know there's plenty of people who got into the series from Horizon 2 or even 3 or 4. There's a lot of people who started in Horizon 4 that haven't even, seen what the original game looks like. And if you're one of those people watching, you have to go back and play this game. It will truly make you think of the newer games in a different light. They are just so different. They're a perfect product of their time, and you won't regret it. You will not regret playing these older games. They are so fantastic. Alright, well, that's it. That's the video. If you have made it this far into the video, I mean, there's nothing else I gotta say. I mean, thank you so much. To have this much work put into a video and have someone watch through all of it is, that's incredible. And, if you're watching this, I truly mean it. Thank you. If you have made it this far into the video, please leave a comment, letting me know. I mean, I'll be responding to most of the comments on this video. If you've been on my channel for a long time, you know that. I like to do that. If this video for some reason absolutely blows up, which I would love, I don't think it'll happen, but if this video blows up, I will try my best again to keep looking through comments, but it might be hard. So if you want to, it's easier to get in touch with me if you join my Discord. It is in the About section on my YouTube channel page, so just click About and then you'll see it. It's right under the Instagram link. So you will see Discord. I'm very active on Discord. I talk with the fans a lot on there. It's weird saying fans, but I guess that's, what you guys are, and that's pretty incredible to me. But again, massive thank you, and I guess that's it. All that work. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to do another smaller one of these on Horizon 4. It's not going to be as long. It's probably going to be another 15-20 minute one. But I wanted to really showcase this original Horizon game and what makes this game just so special. Thank you for watching.